Oh man, dude, I can't actually believe that we're talking about this today. Let's go over to the Oilers and discuss a few rumors that they've had thrown around there as to what they could potentially do with their forward core. Now, heading into this period towards the start of the season, I've been kind of saying the entire time that the top 5 on the Oilers is going to be pretty set in stone. And I say top 5 and not top 6 because that final 6 spot is probably going to circulate in some sort of a battle between some of the other guys on this team. But for the most part, I kind of entered this season, or at least entered September, I guess, with the idea that the Oilers' top 5 would be some form of McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, Evander Kane, and Zach Hyman. Meanwhile, for the 6th spot, on the right wing, you would either have yourselves Jesse Puljujarvi or Kalle Yamamoto filling out that final spot. They would sort of be battling it out with each other to see who is the better player and see who is more fit on the top 6 of this team. And because both of these guys had recently signed their extensions in the summer, it made it a lot easier to believe that this was the direction the team was going to go down, right? But it turns out we have ourselves not only Jesse Puljujarvi trade rumors that kind of talk about him getting shipped over to teams like Anaheim, for example, but a potential name that might be a replacement. And in my head, when I try to piece it out, like, okay, you're moving out Puljujarvi and you're bringing in this other guy, there is just a difference in talent that I feel the Edmonton Oilers are not fully comprehending here. So let's talk about the Oilers, and let's talk about former Vancouver Canucks forward Jake Virtanen. This is the first video that we have made mentioning Virtanen's name in, like, a calendar year. It's been a long time, and there are so many reasons to get into why it's not really worth it to bring up Virtanen on the channel, but long story short, there was a trial. He was found not guilty of sexual assault. That was back in July, and now, he had his KHL contract revoked because once the thing in Ukraine started, he ended up leaving the KHL team that he was on, Sparta Moscow, and because some North American players in the KHL did that, their contracts were terminated. Now, at the time of recording this audio, Jake Virtanen is currently an unsigned UFA. He is nowhere in the hockey world. But according to NHL sources, it appears that he is of target when it comes to the Calgary Flames as well as the Oilers. The Oilers are the team that I wanted to focus on the most here because this has actually been the conversation that I feel has taken over most of the Virtanen discourse. This is what Ryan Rishaug said 2 days ago, on September 12th. Taking in the captain's skate today, McDavid is likely talking afterwards, among others. Here are a couple of notes on the Oilers, as others have mentioned. My sense is the Oilers are waiting on an answer from Virtanen about a PTO offer. Several other teams are in the mix as well. We could see an additional PTO extended to another forward too. Continuing to pursue all trade options for Puljujarvi as well. The most obvious move is to clear out some cap space. If it doesn't happen, they can still start with what they've got built in, but it'll be a razor-thin margin budget-wise, and it could cause issues later in the season. Rishaug also talks about Tyson Barrie, but it doesn't really have any relevance to our discussion over here. So we're talking about Jesse Puljujarvi, the idea of the Oilers trying to move him out, and how apparently the Oilers, really want to get Virtanen in on this PTO, man. Look, I'm going to say this once, and I'm going to not repeat this ever again, but when it comes to Virtanen, I'm not referring to the trial, okay? It happened. He was found not guilty. Now, you can debate in your heads whether or not guilty or guilty was the right or the wrong verdict. I'm not talking about that. When it comes to Jake Virtanen as a hockey player, there's a reason why that extends beyond just the allegations and the off-ice activities. The Vancouver Canucks bought his contract out. He's just really not a player that was able to improve and show off all the talent that he had. Yes, Jake Virtanen was a big dude. He has a great stride. When he gets going, he's going. He's got some great skills, good with his hands, a fantastic shot, but he has the hockey IQ of a brick, dude. I get it, he scored 18 goals in 69 games in 2019-20, on pace for over 20 goals. Fantastic. But in a season where the Vancouver Canucks were plagued with the virus, and you have other players that were given bigger opportunities to succeed, Jake Virtanen absolutely did not step up to the task. He only had 5 points, all of them goals, in 38 games in his last season in Vancouver. And the Vancouver Canucks in 2021, they were a pretty weak team. Like, sure, I get it, the virus had a big part of that, but they were a weak team, and all the players on the team definitely did not showcase very well. Virtanen was a part of that. Even when the team went pretty far in the bubble playoffs, Virtanen only had 2 goals in 16 games, and you could just see that a lot of the hockey IQ that you needed to maneuver and score points in the playoffs, Virtanen lacks. There's so many moments when the guy takes the puck in on a rush, he's got speed, he blitzes by a guy or two, and instead of driving to the net, he ends up playing it into the corner and just reversing it back along the boards to the point guy. Like, that play happened way too often, and it kind of got Canucks fans accustomed to seeing the fact that Virtanen just has so little hockey IQ that it's not really worth it to bring this guy back on a team that was as forward deficient as the Vancouver Canucks were in 2021. Now, I have no doubt that the off-ice stuff, the allegations, these didn't help his case at all when it came to the Vancouver Canucks wanting to keep him around and giving him a second chance. He was not good on the ice, he was not good off the ice, and the Canucks didn't really have any reason to go out there and try to make things work with a player like this because it just wasn't worth it. But now, he was in Russia, and I mean, look, he had 9 goals, and 7 assists in 36 KHL games. But even still, that point production, that's not great either. Like, you have KHL guys who are point-per-game caliber players that can barely even sniff an NHL roster, and Jake Virtanen was at half a point a game, playing for Sparta Moscow of all teams. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that if Jake Virtanen comes back to the NHL, any team that goes out there and signs this guy, look, your fan base is going to hate this player after like 2 weeks. And I'm being very harsh in my opinion here because that's just what we've been seeing for the past few years with this player. He has the one good year, 36 points in 69 games played, and he doesn't show any growth or improvement from that. It's like the 2020 bubble off-season, shortened off-season, whatever the heck it was, between the time the league got shut down and came back in the bubble. That period kind of like broke Jake Virtanen's competence as a hockey player at the NHL level. Now, the one goal, or he did score 2 goals in the playoffs, I get that, but like the one very important goal that he scored against St. Louis in like game 6 or whatever it was, definitely don't want to discredit him for that. Nice goal. Good. But there just wasn't any external growth beyond that as a hockey player that, to me, when I think about the idea of the Oilers getting rid of Puljujarvi strictly because of the contract, I mean, he's got 1 year at $3 million apiece. Or apiece? I mean, he's only got the 1 year. What the heck am I talking about? At least Puljujarvi had 36 points in 65 games last season. Now, I know he also produced pretty poorly in the postseason, and I guess you could say, oh, Lego, it's the same situation with Virtanen, but with Puljujarvi. In the playoffs, he wasn't really all too great. But at the same time, at least you have Kailer Yamamoto, who did produce well in the postseason and who is going to have an opportunity to be in that top 6 too. It's just mind-boggling to me when I think about Puljujarvi potentially being on the move. Bob Stouffer, by the way, on his show, he said that the Puljujarvi thing might actually end up with him going over to the Anaheim Ducks, so who really knows if that's a possibility there. It's just mind-boggling to me that the Oilers would trade away Puljujarvi and try to replace his services on the right side with Jake Virtanen. Like, oh my goodness, forget about the Capitals, forget about the Flames, because these are other teams that have been linked to Jake as well. When it comes to Edmonton doing this, like, I don't know, I've seen so many memes going around there saying, oh, it's going to be Virtanen and Kane, 2 guys that treat women very appropriately being on the same hockey team, and like, yeah, this sucks. Really does suck, doesn't it? I don't think there's going to be anybody in Oilers Nation or in Vancouver Canucks Nation in general that's going to go out there and be like, oh, you know, like, what if Virtanen has a bounce back year? What if he does this? What if he does that? Yeah, okay, what if? Canucks fans have been playing the what-if game with Virtanen ever since 2015. The guy was drafted in 2014 and he was really good in the WHL, but once he made the Vancouver Canucks in 2015-16 and he wasn't really able to get it all together in the numerous stints he had in the top 6 on the power play with talented players, etc., like, there were so many chances. Oh, you just got to look at Todd Bertuzzi. Todd Bertuzzi didn't produce all too well with Vancouver when he started out his career, and he became a power forward that got 90-something points. Like, Virtanen can be that good. No, he can't. No, he can't. The guy's, what is he, 26 years old already? Like, Todd Bertuzzi took some time to break out, yes, but, like, by the time he was 26, he was already a top-line forward for this team. I'm going to stop talking about this because it's just kind of getting me frustrated. Talk in the comments, though, all your thoughts about the Oilers potentially moving out Puljujarvi and getting Virtanen in as a replacement forward for their right side, I guess. But talk in the comments, all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.